Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tech Blueprint podcast. In this episode, we're diving into, I suppose, one of the most exciting shifts happening in technology right now, the rise of AI agents and how they're starting to change the way that teams work inside companies. Today, I am joined by John Frizelle, who is the founder of Alludium, which is a platform designed to help teams to build, deploy, and collaborate with AI agents in a practical, real-world way. In this conversation, we talk about the difference between AI assistants and AI agents, why agents represent a completely different paradigm for how work gets done, the engineering challenges behind building reliable agentic systems, where companies are currently getting AI adoption right and wrong, and what the future might look like for when humans are managing teams of AI agents working in the background. John also shared some brilliant advice for founders thinking about building their own companies. I think it was a fascinating discussion, and one I think that anyone interested in AI startups or the future of work will get a lot from. So that's it. Let's get into it. Hey, John. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining me this afternoon.
Hey, Jack. How's it going? Great to be here.
All good, all good. So, obviously keen to get stuck into question one. From my side, you've been involved in startups and AI, obviously, for quite some time. What made you decide that now was the right moment to build Alludium?
So I guess I joined SVV, Shore Valley Ventures, back at the start of 23 with a remit to go very deep in the AI space to really map out the market. SVV is primarily an AI investor. And so really go deep in the space, the big players, the emerging tech, the open source, all of it. And kind of a side effect of doing that was I started to form my own thesis and hypothesis about where AI was going, direction of travel, and AI agents in particular. And so it became almost an obsession that I couldn't put down. Evenings, weekends, researching, prototyping, ideating, and got to a point where I had a very clear idea of where I thought this was going. And I've done this before in a previous startup, Feed Henry. So I kind of knew to a greater or lesser extent what needed to be done. And I had that urge that I couldn't resist really and had to do it.
Fantastic. Perfect. And do you want to give people, I suppose, that maybe that don't know what you guys do, just a bit of a background in terms of the company and I suppose what you guys do day to day?
Yeah, so it's basically a platform for building and running and collaborating with AI agents. So you get a set that we've built out of the box that give you value immediately, but really the intention is for people to start building their own, sharing them with their team in a workspace, so everyone gets their own workspace, can invite people to it. So small few people in a team building agents to solve specific problems for them, sharing them with the team, everyone benefiting, everyone becoming more productive. That's kind of the vision. Is it'll be teams of people and teams of humans collaborating together, and Alludium is where that collaboration will happen.
Okay, fantastic. I think for most people, they'll be pretty familiar with like AI assistants that answer questions. I think if I'm right in saying you've talked about AI agents that are actually taking actions and things like that for people. What would you say is the difference, and why does that shift matter?
One is a teacher, the other is an employee, a worker. So the ones that tell you things, they educate you, tell you what to do, but you then go off and do it yourself. You're still expending your own time and brain power putting the instructions into action. Agents that are going and taking action on your behalf, either directly when you tell them to, or in the background all of the time autonomously, taking care of business and just reaching out to you as needed. It's a very different paradigm. They go from being something you consult and it's always initiated by you to something that is ambient. They're working in the background on your behalf, whether it's triaging emails or doing competitor analysis or tracking your CRM for new leads and going and doing a bunch of research on the person and crafting a properly genuine, welcoming onboarding mail. There's lots of work that these agents can do in the background, quietly, seamlessly, adding value.
Yeah. Okay. I think if I'm right in saying, you described Alludium as like an agent OS. What would you say that actually means in practice for a company using it day to day? Then, if we're going to go a bit more granular.
I think it means solving all of the problems of building and deploying agents. So access to different models and different cloud providers in secure regions, being able to connect to the tools and applications you need, being able to have the agents run autonomously in the background, having visibility of what's going on, allowing people to focus just on whatever their use case is, whatever their urge to build is, and taking care of everything else so that it's just seamless.
Seamless, yeah, 100%. So you work closely with teams trying to adopt AI, of course. Where do you see companies sort of misunderstanding it or maybe misusing it at the minute?
Oh, wow. It's probably two ends of the spectrum. Probably too little use or too much use.
Okay.
People who are avoiding it completely and not willing to even be educated to see what's possible, and people who've completely just outsourced everything to it, and are no longer in the loop of what's happening. They're kind of the two extremes that I often see. I mean, there's a lot of really basic stuff like how to write a good prompt or an instruction to AI to get it to do what you want. The more context you give it, the more information, the better it will behave. So there's a lot of basics, a lot of 101s that are obvious to me, I guess, but are not necessarily as widely known or widely obvious. And again, that's something that in building an agent, if you do understand a bit about that in building an agent, you can build it in such a way that when someone engages with it, it won't just try and immediately answer. It will ask more information. It'll ask clarifying questions. It'll gather a complete picture before it takes action. So you can almost, with a system like this, you can guard against the element of people who haven't used these systems before not really knowing how to interact. You can build interaction guardrails into the agents you're building.
Okay, awesome. For I suppose like founders or tech leaders, that are going to be listening to this, what are some of the first workflows where AI agents can genuinely save teams time today, would you say?
I would say that for each individual or team, they should ask themselves the question, what tasks are taking most time and least value add? Do we already have a decent process identified for how we do this task? Right, let's offload it to AI. So start with the low-hanging fruit, the things no one wants to do, that suck time, don't add much value, but really do still have to be done. Describe that process to our platform, build an agent, get it doing that task, and iterate from there. And the ideas will really start to flow. Once you have one or two successes, it's like, oh, we could do that, and I could connect it up to that and that. And so, yeah, start with the things that will make most difference to you. There's no one size fits all. Every team, every group is going to have a different, if I could just get that off my plate, I'd be delighted type of thing. So focus on that and then move up to the next one, and just start delegating the stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah, you're giving me loads of ideas here myself, to be honest, from a recruitment perspective. Some of the things that I might want to do, following this conversation. Okay, fantastic. From an engineering perspective, like what is actually hard about like building reliable AI agents that interact with real systems like CRMs or emails or internal tools, and if you could, for the techies out there, what sort of tech stack did you guys choose, and why did you choose that direction?
So tech stack is actually fairly simple at the moment. It is a npm monorepo, React front ends, capacitor for mobile, broken down into different layers, different services, quite a lot of queues and distributed communication going on. Gets built in different flavors and deployed with different profiles to be an API server, a backend worker, run particular services. That was one part of the question. Repeat.
Sorry, the first bit was just from a, I suppose, like an engineering perspective, like what's
the hard part. Sorry, the hard parts of AI agents. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different tools, and when you're building a platform and you have to support a finite number of tools, there's a lot of resilience needs to be built in at the tool calling, tool response layer. Managing context is a big issue, and it's one that's we haven't quite solved yet, but we have an update coming in the next week or two that's going to make a big difference there. But as you know, large language models only have a finite amount of context information they can hold, and moving context window, compression, access to historical messages. There's a whole dimension of things there that are needed to make LLMs really reliable. Fallbacks in terms of models, if one regional model is unavailable, falling back to a different one. Resilience at every layer. And there's a lot of new layers and a lot of new paradigms that are introduced when LLMs are at a central part of kind of what you're doing.
Fantastic. If we were to fast forward 3 to 5 years, how do you think AI agents will change how teams operate inside companies?
I think the interaction model will primarily be task and chat driven. So in the same way as people spend quite a lot of time in Slack communicating with colleagues, there will be a similar, probably unified interface where you're communicating with both humans and agents, and basically being driven from a task list or a most recent chat pinging. I feel like that is very potentially the future, because in the same way as your colleagues work asynchronously and reconnect with you when you need to exchange information, that's the exact same way these agents are going to work, and they will manifest more and more, blurring the line, I think, between did that last message I get come from a human or an agent. You know, you'll be getting check-ins, you'll be saying, okay, yeah, go ahead with that, or no, we need to reword this, firing a mail, not a mail, a message off, moving on to the next thing. So a lot of multitasking. Because we will be doing far less of the actual implementation of tasks. We will be the decision makers, the orchestrators, the coordinators. That kind of vision of everyone is leading a team. Even if you're the lowest human on the org chart, you still have a team beneath you, and you're coordinating their work and their activities. That's the most likely interaction model I can foresee at this point.
Any scary stories? What's the scariest thing that could happen?
I mean, there are the boomers and the doomers. I will put myself somewhere in the middle. But I mean, I'm sure you've seen AI 27. That painted a pretty damn dystopian picture of what could happen. So I don't think I'm going to go any more dystopian than that.
No, fair enough. Final question from me. I always ask this at the end of these podcasts. You know, if someone wanted to start their own business, or maybe someone's tried and failed, what advice could you give to future founders?
Don't be put off by failure. Failure is learning. It's some of the best learning. So embrace it. Don't shy away from it. Validate your ideas. I mean, with the tools we have available, it is very easy these days to use AI, but it's more difficult to get it to be unbiased and not a sycophant yes man. So that can take a little bit of finessing in terms of your prompting, but give an AI your idea and tell it to evaluate it dispassionately. Use frameworks like Porter's 5 Forces, market dynamics. Do you know what I mean? Give it a formula to assess and ideate and see what sticks, and see what wakes you up in the middle of the night as they, oh yeah, which of the ideas is the one doing that, because that's the one when it is 2 and 3 a.m. and you're tired and you know you shouldn't still be drinking coffee, but you are. That's what keeps you going when it's that one that you couldn't put down in your mind and it still has a hold of you. And that be passionate about what you're doing. Don't do it just for the sake of it. Don't do it just because you feel you should. I think you really have to, for me anyway, there has to be that something extra that means it's almost an obsession.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be advocating for an obsession, but
Yeah, that's fantastic. Look, that's all I had from questions wise for you today, John. Look, just want to say, look, thanks again for taking the time for joining me. That was fantastic, and as always, I'll make sure to include a link to your LinkedIn profile and stuff like that in the comment section so people can connect with you a lot easier as well. But listen, thanks again for the time.
Thank you very much, Jack.